Guys, we'll be making this gypsy skirt. It is called cottage skirt in recent times, but I've always known it as Caribbean skirt. In our next video, we'll be doing the top, so make sure you subscribe, okay? Now on this sleeve, I would be doing some calculations that would be a guide throughout this tutorial. So my topic is cottage skirt, so that's what I just wrote down, and I want my skirt to have 4 steps, 4 tiers. Okay, so this is the waistband of my skirt, this is the first layer, and this is the second layer, the third layer, and then the last layer. Okay, please follow me. So I'm done sketching the skirt. See how beautiful it is. Argue with your keyboard. Now the next thing I'll do is to label the tiers. This is the waistband, this is the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and 4. So the next thing we want to do now is to write out our circumference measurements. My waist is 28 inches, and I'll put that down. My waist is 28 inches, my hip is 42, and the full length is 44 inches. Now we'll be using 44 inches to get the length of the skirt. Okay, so I'm going to write down 44 inches dividing by how many steps do I want my skirt to be. Already we have established that the step for the skirt is 4 steps, right? So we'll simply say full length 44 inches divided by 4 steps, and that will give us 11 inches. Please follow me, it's very easy. Okay, now you can decide to use 11 inches for all the layers, right? But this is what I'll do. I'll remove my band, that's 2 inches for the band, so I'm left with 42 inches, right? So the first layer will be 11 inches, and then I want the last layer to be smaller. I want it to be 8 inches. So what I have left, I'll divide it and place them between the second and third layer. I hope that's clear. So I have 11 inches as the first layer, 12 inches for the second layer, and 13 inches for the third layer. So if you calculate it, we have 42, then plus the 2 inches for waistband, 44. Okay, 11, 12, 13, then 8. So what we have just done now is to determine the length of each tier. Okay, now the next thing we want to calculate is the width of the tier. We are done with the length of the tier. Now let's enter the width of each tier. Now it's simple. We're going to simply say each tier multiplied by 1.5. What does now for the first tier, we'll be using our hip circumference. My hip circumference is 42, and I'll multiply 42 by 1.5. You see, very easy. So 42 times 1.5, what does that give me? That gave me 63. So this means that the wideness for the fabric we'll be using for step 1 is 63 inches wide. So I'm going to put that down. Now for the step 2 or tier 2, we're going to say 63, which we got earlier, times 1.5. right? Now that gave me 94.5 inches. So I'm just going to write that down. So my step 2 would be 94 inches wide. I hope I follow it. Now for the third tier, we'll say that 94 we just got, 94 times 1.5, and that gave me 141 inches. So my third tier will be 141 inches wide. Now you already know for the fourth tier, we'll simply say 141 inches times 1.5, and that will give us 211 inches. So our last tier will be 211.5 inches wide. Okay, and once you're able to get the calculation like this, then you are almost done. Next we'll do now is to get our fabric and start implementing. So if you want your skirt to be extremely, when I say extremely full, you can multiply by 2 inches instead of 1.5. But mind you, it's going to be very fabric consuming, and it's going to be very full. I just did it here in case you want to do, you want to go extra. You can now multiply by 2. But this first one we have here is what we'll be working with. So let me get my fabric. Okay, so this pink fabric I have here is what we'll be using for the skirt. I have 3 yards. What did I say? 3 yards. So if you're going to be multiplying by 2, just have like 5 yards. Okay, so we'll be working with these 3 yards. I'll take this to the floor so that it is very clear. Now I have my 3 yards on the floor folded into 2 equal parts. We'll be getting the wideness and the length for each of the tier. Okay, for the wideness we'll place our tape in the last landscape manner, and then for the length we'll place our tape in the horizontal manner, just like now this. I'll be starting from the 4th tier. You can start from any tier it is you want. I started from the 4th tier because it is the widest tier. Okay, so the length for the 4th tier is 8 inches. I'll add extra 1 inch for stitching allowance, so I'll rule across, and that is for my 4th tier. 8 inches, 4th tier. Okay, good. Now I'll just label it number 4 so that I'll know that this is my 4th tier. Now the next will be the 3rd tier, and the length for the 3rd tier is 13 inches. So I'll mark 13 inches and rule across like this. Please, while doing this, if any tier is not enough with the fabric folded into 2, feel free to join. Okay, feel free to add more fabric so that you get the exact number of inches you need for each tier. So you can go ahead and cut out. After cutting out, I'm just going to cross check and adjust the wideness. So this is the 4th tier, and the 4th tier is the widest, and it's about 211.5 inches if you follow what we calculated earlier. So right here I have gone ahead to, you can see that my 4th tier is the longest, followed by the 3rd tier, then the 2nd and the 1st. This is how yours should be. After you have gotten it this way, go ahead and weave. You can overlock the edges just like this. Or did I say? You can weave it, or overlocking, anyone you call it. Yes, so we can now go ahead to the sewing machine. If you look well, you will see that I pinned each wideness to it so that I don't make mistake. So I have my tier 1, 63 inches. Now the important essence why we are attaching the wideness to each of the tier is because the next tier would use the wideness of the tier that comes before it, or the tier that precedes it. For example, my first tier is 63. This means that when I'm gathering my 2nd tier, after gathering, I should have 63 on my 2nd tier after gathering. Then my 3rd tier after gathering should be 94, whatever it is I have on the 2nd tier, and like that. For the 4th tier, whatever I have on the 3rd tier would be what I will have on the 4th tier after gathering. Okay, you can see I'm just trying to explain it on the floor. So after gathering my 2nd tier, it should have 63 inches wideness so that it can cover up the 1st tier, and so goes for the 2nd, 3rd and 4th tier. Alright, that's why you need to pin the wideness to make your work much easier. So now if I'm gathering the 3rd tier, I'll use the wideness of the 2nd tier for the 3rd tier. You get that, right? So by the time you are done, guys, this is what you should have. Now let's move to the sewing machine. we'll start gathering from the first tier. This is my first tier and I've already drawn my gathers line. You can see that straight line. Yes, that's my gathers line, and I'll start gathering my first tier like this very carefully. And make sure you use this pattern of gathering because it is adjustable. So if it's not as wide as you want, you can adjust it. You can see how neat the gathers is, and my stitching is very close to the edge. Okay, you will keep gathering till you get the measurement you need. For the first year, we are using our hip measurement. For the first year, our hip measurement is what? 42. So after gathering this first year, you should have 42 inches. Okay, now once your first tier is ready, go ahead and top stitch so that the gathers doesn't lose. For the second tier, I tried gathering at the hem of the first tier. Like I tried gathering while stitching on the first tier, but I wasn't feeling it, so I just went back to the normal process of actually creating the gather first before stitching on the next tier. Now I hope we are following. So what we have here is our first tier and the second tier. So place the first tier on the floor and then your second tier right on top of it. Make sure you label all your tiers so that you don't make a mistake. So you can see me adjusting my gathers. Okay, I'm adjusting my gathers. Remember I told you I went back to the original process. So I first ran my gather stitch and then actually started drawing the gathers, or gathering the fabric rather. So you place it like this on your first tier, then you keep adjusting until everywhere is evenly distributed. So you now go ahead and stitch through. Now here's what we have for the first and second tier. Next is the third tier. I have sewn my gather line and I'm gathering already. You can see I labeled all my tiers to the same mode to make your life easy. So after gathering, I'll add it to my first and second tier, and this is what we have. Now we have our first, second and third tier. The final tier is the fourth tier, which is the shortest tier and the widest tier, right? Guys, this is what the final result looks like, or almost the final result. So we have our first, second, third and fourth tier very neatly sewn. Okay, now we'll go ahead and close this up and then add our waistband. My waist is 28 inches. I'll be using the waist elastic band of 26 inches. I don't want the waist of my skirt to be tight at all. Okay, so this is the elastic we'll be using. I'm going to close it up very tightly, and I'll hem it with my lighter, and then I'll close up my waistband on my fashion fabric as well. Now insert the elastic into your main fabric and close it up. Make sure after closing that your elastic is freely moving in the waistband. If you know that this waistband is not for children. So if you have not been able to fix this waistband the way you like, I have a tutorial on that. All you need to do is to type link in the comment section and I'll send the link to you. So after closing up your skirt, the next thing will be to add the band. So this very cute idea came to me to top stitch the skirt on the waistband. So instead of joining it like this, I did a different pattern and it gave my skirt a whole new vibe. Let me show you the final result. At this point, you have no excuse not to make a very perfect cottage skirt using this tutorial. If you have any question, leave me a comment in the comment section below. Till my next video, guys. Bye.